Yeah, I'm still alive, and no, I haven't got a haircut yet. Um, I got a bunch of stuff, some videos recorded. I'll get it edited eventually. Um, you know, like I say in there, school teacher in a pandemic. Father, I some had to get cut, and it was this. And despite comments to the otherwise, I still believe I made the right choice. But you know what I didn't make the right choice on? This. Oh man. You know I have a soft spot for the Craftsman 113s, having started with one out of a cabinet shop. It had the cast iron web like this, and then inheriting the one from my uncle, and both of them I fixed up, and I gave to people that I loved and cared about, so that they could get their woodworking started, and not begin with, well, I'll show you what they were going to begin with. One of these. By the way, John, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry for trashing on your stuff. Anyways, so I saw this in the Facebook marketplace, and what I missed was that. Shoot me in the foot right now. I missed that it was a direct drive unit, but I told the guy, sold $100, and drove way the hell and gone out there in a rainstorm. Oh, by the way, yeah, you know the Blowing Turd? Guess what I discovered on that drive? Turns out when you drive this thing in the rain, the headlights fail. So yeah, it was about a 45-minute drive where the headlights would come on and off no matter what I wiggled, no matter what I tested. Anyways, get out there, and it's this son of a gun. There should be a big old motor hanging right there. Anyways, I turned it on. She spins up beautifully. She spins down beautifully. It's got just an utter garbage blade on it. Nonetheless, I had to have one. You know, my brother's 10-inch Rockwell. I'm sure it's been a fine saw, and Lord knows I've forced it. I've forced it to work really darn hard, but bearings, you can hear the bearings spinning inside the motor when you start it. This wonderful screeching howl until I guess the crazy friction lets the grease warm up, then they start to spin noisily. And nonetheless, I had to have one. I thought for $100, I was, to be honest, I thought for $100 I was buying Shay's first table saw. That's what I thought I was doing, and that I would use it for here, and that he and I would fix it up start to finish. Nonetheless, I got this. I had to have one, so it's gonna replace this one right here. I'll have to come up with some way to roll it around. You know, obviously the Craftsman fences were always kind of garbage. That one no exception, but the fence in that Rockwell is quite a bit worse. So yep, that's where I've been. That's what I did. I kind of kicked myself the whole drive home, but I missed it. See, I knew that if it was, I thought it was a belt drive, and even if it was a belt drive and the motor was bad, the first thing you do with these is yank that 1-horse Craftsman motor, put it on the shelf, and go put a 1.5 or 2 is what I put on mine. Oh, night and day. Anyways, driving home with my headlights turning on and off and on and off and on, there was some remorse. But here she is. It is what it is, I guess. And yeah, it's probably always going to be worth, provided the motor doesn't burn up, it's probably always going to be worth what I paid for it. And if I burn the motor up, I'll rebuild it. anyways, show you real quick what we've been up to over the last whatevers. We have started putting up plastic sheeting. I'm using up stuff that people gave me. This stuff, unfortunately, is a little crispy, so I have to go back with some seam tape and cover the 9 gazillion holes. I should have stopped and just ripped it down, but I didn't. Oh, and that by the way means that there is now insulation in those ceilings. Could not get the rock wool. Just put up the fiberglass, so it's got R30 and then it's got R19 on top of it. Yeah, I'm aware that there are a lot of houses with R60, R70 in the roof, but that's because they don't understand how insulation works. Yeah, the extra money. It was going to be more time than I ever owned this building in order for it to pay off. So that said, there's our R60 where the main heater is going to be. And then Shay and I have been outside gathering up some wood. I've made some decisions. Got the turd there with the doors wide open because it leaks like a sieve. This is what we found up on the hillside, and gosh, second apology. So, you know, Mom and Dad, that four-wheel drive Limhi side by side you let me borrow, yeah, that's what I use to tow these down. Probably shouldn't have. It did it though. Look at this size. Oh, something ate something on top of that. Look at the size of these things. Holy smokes. Anyways, all of them, it pulled them down. So what is this? This is a ponderosa pine tree that died and was, yeah, okay. Sometimes you do things just to make the kid happy. And anyways, that's why that one's there. It's a ponderosa pine tree that died 100 years ago. It's been sitting up on top of the hillside, and it is harder than the knobs of hell. So I've got that one and this one. They're both amazing. That one's a little bit of a step down, and this one is good for about, actually this one's good for its full length, and that one's good for about the first 4 feet. And then these and that are some firs, dead standing firs that we found. They're going to be siding. Have you seen that that Japanese burned siding stuff? We're going to make our own. I simply cannot afford and cannot find siding. I would be down to putting pressboard clapboards on this, and I think I would rather burn it down than cover it entirely with pressboard clapboards, knowing I'd have to do it again in 5 to 10 years. So we're gonna use those. I'm gonna do the shugu or whatever it is. You know, they talk about how the carbonizing or whatnot sets the resins and they never ever rot away. Yeah, well, it turns out that's only for Japanese cypress. I found a Forest Service Material Science Building Report, you know, the things they produce for the Forest Service buildings. Anyways, it was very clear that the shugoban doesn't actually, not, if you're a believer, God bless you. Nonetheless, scientifically, when people closed their eyes and did the test. Nonetheless, I'm going to start with these logs, at least on the front face. I'm going to start with these logs here. I should actually point it. That have already got 100 years on the hillside. They're not even remotely enough. There's maybe 2 more up there that we haven't been able to get to quite yet. They're not even remotely enough. Nonetheless, I'm hoping to put it on the bottom section of this side here. It's going to be board and bat. I'm going to use that table saw you just saw there, and I'm going to cut me a bunch of, what do they call them, purlins? Furring strips. Anyways, they'll be about 3/8 of an inch thick. They will run sideways across here It'll be 23 inches, a 1-inch gap, 23 inches. And then I'm going to set up my Shay's great-grandfather's radial arm saw, and we'll put a few vertical slits. Anyways, that will then allow air to circulate top to bottom. These things will dry out front side and back side, because I was reading additional wood studies. Again, not just taking somebody's, I knew a guy, but additional material science. And basically they said as long as you've got air movement behind it, even relatively soft species like this ponderosa, if they're thin, will simply dry out. Yeah, they got waterlogged. Yep, they sure did. But they didn't rot because they dried right back out again. Add to the fact that this is Montana. I'll point you this direction. It's prettier. Add to the fact this is Montana, and that siding will probably spend 3 months out of the year frozen solid, and no rot can take place during that time period. And then it'll spend at least 4 months out of the year with no rain of any kind. You do a little bit of math, that tells me I've got 5 months where I have to keep it somewhat dry. God, this is a big house. So anyways, we're gonna do that. There is another massive log on the hill. Shay and I cannot retrieve it. When Dad had the cat here, Shay told me, he's like, Dad, you gotta get that log. Dad, you gotta get that log. And I was tired and not really, I guess, paying attention. Anyways, he's totally right. Frickin' thing is absolutely massive. So we're gonna, I don't know how we'll get that one down. We also have the tree you see standing right there. You can see she is, she's just simply not long for this world. And due to the prevailing winds, if it comes down, it's coming down on the house. So I do hate dropping trees that are alive, but she's not a healthy monkey. I'm gonna go and girdle it. You know, because of Shay's absolute delectable, innocent love of trees, they have, in my mind, become, you know, the same living sentient things as his. So both of us are feeling very guilty at the idea of girdling that thing. I'd much rather just put her down on the ground, but I'm gonna girdle it. So where is it? Right there, so that it can evaporate moisture off. And yeah, so that's what we're looking forward to. Dad, if you're watching this, that's what's in our future, is a whole bunch of that. And instead of storing it at the farm, we're just gonna bring it. I'm gonna set up those, you can't see them, I'm gonna set up those big pallets from the neighbors someplace nice and flat, and we're gonna stack this stuff. Everything on the bump out will be a dark char shuguru, whatever that, shuguban, whatever you want to call it, will be the dark char, because that'll make it visually quite stunning. Everything else will just be ponderosa. It will have a reasonable quality water sealer on all 4 sides, and then on the bats as well, all 4 sides. But I have no intention of really maintaining it, so it'll go gray, which I'm fine. So this will be a dark charcoal chocolatey sort of color on this wall right here, and the remainder of the house will just go au naturel. We'll space them out. I do not have enough cedar from Grandpa's old stash to do the windows, but I believe I have enough. I think I have enough to do both of those, and then I'll use pine for the rest of that as well. I told the wife we're going to use exposed stainless fasteners. Good Lord, you know how much 5,000 of those sons of bitches cost? It's like $500. Oh my God. We're going to use exposed stainless steel fasteners, no hidden fasteners whatsoever, and that will allow me to either tighten as things dry and twist, or replace individual boards, or replace all of them. They'll simply be, and then I told her it means we got to be pretty careful, because the fasteners will be part of the design. noticed that none of my logs are going to be long enough. We could not pull them full length. It just wasn't going to happen. So they'll go up 8 feet, and I'll just cut it at a 45 bevel, and then I'll put a piece of flashing across the top so that any water that got behind comes out at that point. I know there are other ways. I actually know there are quite a few other ways to do that. They are not within my grasp. Okay, this zip system has been amazingly tough, but it can't sit exposed forever, and it must be covered. And doing it the way I'm talking about, I can start from the bottom up, and I can use my own materials, and as it essentially decays, I can replace it. And if that means, you know, 15 years from now, when we're all using holographic photovoltaic siding or whatnot, I'll just pop off all those screws and put it back up. So that's what you will eventually see some video of us messing with that bit. Nonetheless, it has been a beautiful time out here at the Riverhouse.